All right, histograms are like a bar graph, except that it's used to represent continuous data so that the bars are touching. And continuous data means that anything in the range can be represented. So anything, any decimals, anything like that. Small amounts. The width of each bar represents a range of numbers, which is what I explained. So the histogram below, for example 1, shows the number of airplanes scheduled to arrive at the Calgary International Airport on a day. So here we have the number of airports on the y-axis and the times along the x-axis given in 24-hour time. And we can see the different numbers of airplanes that arrive. And now we're asked a whole bunch of questions based on this histogram. So for instance, the first question asks, how many airplanes are scheduled to arrive between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m.? First thing you need to do is know what those are in 24-hour time. This is 2 hours past 12, so that would be 14. And this is up to 15. So we're looking between 14, which is here, and 15, which is here. So we're looking at the value up here, which is at 4. So that would be 4 airplanes. Part B says, what are the busiest times at the airport? And then how many airplanes are scheduled to arrive at these times? So the busiest times are where the histogram, the bars are the tallest. That's up here, and up here. We can see that 10 airplanes are scheduled, and that's between 11 and noon, 11 to 12. We also know that it's between 3 and 4. And we also know that it's between 5 and 6. And maybe we should put PM down here, just because everything is in 24-hour time. If we're changing it to 12-hour time, then we should probably make sure that we have the AMs and the PMs just to be really clear. And we had 10 airplanes at each one of those intervals, because that's the maximum amount of airplanes that arrive. Next question, what is the quietest time? Well, I can see right from the graph that all the lowest amounts, so that would be from here to here, from here to here, from there to there. So all these points here, all these bars. So between 0 is midnight. So between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m., which is a large range, between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. I can combine those two because they're right next to each other. And the last one is between, what is that? 18 is 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. So we have all these times. I would separate them by commas. The quietest times are there because only 2 airplanes arrive at each one of those times. Part D asks, are there any airplanes scheduled to arrive between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m.? Well, 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. is in this range here, but we don't know. I mean, we could say there are 2 scheduled between 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., but we don't know. And this is in your workbook as well. We don't know if those airplanes are between 0 and maybe midnight and 2 a.m. We don't know between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. if any airplanes are scheduled. We just know that between 0 and 6, that's all we're told. 0 and 6, there's going to be 2 airplanes coming in. So we're not sure if one of those airplanes or both of them are in between those times. So those are answering questions based on a histogram, basically just interpreting the graph, the data. Second question I want to look at, and this is on page 102 of your workbook, so you can follow along if you want. An internet service provider surveyed some of its customers across Canada. So this is internet, to find out how many people spend on, or how much time people spend on the internet each week. So here's a histogram showing that data that they collected. They have between 0 and 5,000 people. You can see right here that if the line is 2,000, then each one is going up by 200, because you'd have 22, 24, 26, 28, 3,000. So we have to know all that data because some values are in between. First question is, how many people spend between 10 and 15 hours? So here's 10, here's 15. we're looking for the value up here. And the value up there is just below 4,000, one tick below, and I know that each one is worth 200, so therefore this is going to be 3,800 people. The next question, how many people spend less than 15 hours on the internet each week? This is a little more complicated because here's 15. We want less than that. So we have to go between this one, and this one. Basically between 0 and 15. How many people spend? So we already know that 3,800 people are between 10 and 15. We're going to have to add on the people between 5 and 10. And look, it's halfway in between. So that means it's going to be an increment of 100. So instead of, say, let me see, 20 would be 2,000, that would be 1,800, so it would be 1,700. 100 less because it's halfway between. And then the amount of people that spend between 0 and 5, which is actually above 1,000 by 200, so it would be 1,200. I know this because there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 remaining until 2,000, so I know that it must be at 1,200 already. So I add those values together, 3,800 plus 1,700 plus 1,200, and I'm left with 6,700 people. So 6,700 people use less than 15 hours each week. The next question, how many people spend more than 30 hours on the internet each week? So 30 hours is over here. More than 30 is just the amount on this bar here, which is 2 less than 3,000. So that would be 2,800. 2,800 people. And the last question says approximately how many people were surveyed. So that's the total amount for the whole graph. So I already know that below 15, there's 6,700 people. So below 15, all those are 6,700. So I can add that up, 6,700. I already know that above 30, there are 2,800 people. So I can add that on. Then I just need to worry about the values between 15 and 30. So I have way, way, way up here at the top. Isn't quite 5,000. It's actually halfway between. So let's say it's about 4,900. And then the next one down would be 4,800. And the next one here, again, is about halfway in between. So there's the 4,000 line. That would be 38. That would be 3,700. So I add all these values. I have 6,700 plus 2,800 plus 4,900 plus 4,800 and then plus 3,700. So I get approximately 22,900 people. So that's a lot of people. It's a decent sized survey. Be hard to figure out how they contacted all those people. So that's another questions based on the histogram graph. Last example I want to look at is how to draw a histogram based on data. So here we're given this data at a busy restaurant. She kept track of the amount of money she received in tips, and she wants to draw a histogram. So the amount of money is up here, and the number of tables she has is down here. And we're going to draw a histogram based on all this data. So we have $2, between $2 and $3.99, between $4 and $5.99, and so on. So the in-between data would be the amount of money at the bottom, so between 0 and 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, because it's just less than $2, $1.99, just less than 4, $3.99, just less than 6, right? That's how the histogram works. So less than 2, between 2 and $3.99, which is just less than 4, 4 and $5.99, which is just less than 6. And then I have all these people, 12, 6, 23, 5. So did they go up by ones on the graph? They did. They went from 0 to 25, they went up by 1. They just showed increments of 5, but each one goes up by 1. And then all they did was they graphed it. They said, okay, between 0 and 2, how many people were there? Where's my data? Up there. There were 12 people. So they went down to their graph and went between 0 and 2, there's 12. I'm going to have my bar go up to 12, and I'm going to draw it to 2. The next one in between 2 and 4, there must have been, let me see, there must have been about 5, right? Or 6. It's a little hard to see here because it's colored in black. It would be much easier if they colored it in, if you make a histogram, if you colored in like yellow or something, then you can see the lines. And between 4 and 6 and so on. So they take all their data and they make sure that the bars are all the same width All of them have to be the same width. They're all touching. That's what a histogram does. And they have the values in the bottom. They have everything labeled, each axis. Make sure you do that when you label your axes as well. So you have the number of tables over here, the amount of money down here. Don't just draw numbers, you have to label them. So that's the end of this section, just how to interpret the graphs and how to draw histograms.